Hello, everyone. I am going to talk to you today about emotional intelligence and why I believe that emotional intelligence is actually more important than your IQ when it comes to being successful. But I'm just going to pause from that for a second and just introduce myself in case you don't know who I am. My name is Lisa Savaniak, and I am a motivational speaker, success coach, and the founder of lifelikeyoumeanit.com and two Facebook groups, The Life You Deserve and Oils Like You Mean It. And so we're going to dive right in and talk about emotional intelligence. So what in the world is that, first of all? We all know what the word intelligence means. Emotional intelligence is really the ability to be able to not control your emotions, but be able to deal with the emotions that come up in a healthy way. Right, we all have things that happen in our lives that we just can't expect or plan for. There's things that happen from day to day that one day you can have the exact same thing that happened the day before, and you respond to it completely differently, right? It's a new day. You've got heightened emotions. Maybe, there's something else that's going on in your life that day. So it's not about being perfect, certainly, but what it's about is more consistency. And it's also about being aware enough of yourself and how you react to things, and the image that you project out into the world, how you want people to be able to see you versus how they are actually seeing you, because of your own emotional intelligence. So awareness, let's start there. Awareness is really key. That's awareness of both yourself and awareness of others. So let's start with self, because that's very important. So awareness of yourself, that can obviously take many different shapes and forms, but it is really what it sounds like, being aware of how you're feeling that day, and also accepting how you're feeling that day. If you're having an extremely emotional day compared to many other days, that's all right? It's about understanding and acknowledging that that is what's happening, and then taking a course of action so that you're able to better handle situations that day, given that you are aware that you are kind of on heightened alert that day. The next day, you might be feeling completely melancholy. The day after that, you might actually be feeling a lack of emotion. Right? So all of that is fine. There's not this perfect emotion that we're looking for. We're just looking to have an awareness of self, right? What is going on with you in that particular moment? Also, that means that when you do react to something, no matter what that is, or how that reaction is, that you have the ability to actually go back and look over that emotion, look over that reaction, and have the ability to actually kind of break it down and understand truly, why did I react that way? And it might be a reaction that we're talking about that went on inside your head. That's a really common one for me. And I know that that is for many other people out there as well, right? Sometimes we're in a moment and we've got an complete internal dialogue that's happening that is completely separate from what we are actually allowing people to see on the exterior. So I'm talking about looking at that internal dialogue just as much as what you are looking at, what you are presenting to the exterior. Because really what's going on inside your mind is what you are going to eventually be putting out there into the universe and having attracted back to you. So you might be projecting this image of calmness, reacting perfectly to some situation, but inside you've got a negative mantra that's going on in your head. Or maybe you've already started telling yourself, you can't do this. I can't believe I was so stupid enough to think that I could pull this off, or that I was worthy of this, or that I was smart enough, or I was, whatever, talented enough, whatever, doesn't matter. So being able to reflect on that particular emotion that was stirred in you, and then the chain of events that happened after that, right? So the things that happened in your mind and the things that you projected to the exterior. So another great example of this would be, with little kids, right? Kids that can get very frustrating very quickly, especially if you've got to get out of the door and they're taking their sweet time about something, right? We all know what I'm talking about here. Maybe this morning it was me with my cat. I was trying to leave to go to the food shop, and my one cat was out in the garden. And this is a real stretch to call her a garden cat, right? She's barely an outdoor cat. This thing hears a teeny little squawk of a bird and will come tearing into the house for safety, right? She does not belong outside. So there's no way I could leave her. There was no way I could go out and get my food shop done and know that she was going to be fine in the back garden without an escape route back into the house. So I had no choice but to put things on hold and try to coax her to get into the house. And I could have done that in several different ways, right? Obviously, I could have gotten frustrated and angry and upset and yelled at her and tried to force her in, or I could try to remain calm and try to entice her in, take some nice deep breaths when I started getting frustrated, things like that. So luckily today, that's how I happened to react. I actually was very calm and peaceful with her and got her into the house. Now, just yesterday, the exact same thing happened, but with trying to get her out of one of the kids' bedrooms. And I did not react in a calm, peaceful way. I yelled at her. I was, trying to use one of the kids' toy guns to try to startle her enough to get her out, right? I used a completely different tactic. And that's okay. I'm not going to beat myself up about not taking the exact right approach in that moment, because I'm proud of myself for being able to look back, recognize that that's not how I wanted to react, and be able to adjust it. And now today, new day, similar situation, and I did react in a different way. That is emotional intelligence, not always getting it perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but having the ability to look back on how you acted or reacted and make decisions if that is the way that you would like to proceed in the future in the same type of circumstance, and then catch yourself in that moment in the future and actually make a different choice, right? Now, if I go back to what I was saying about mindset, if you've got something going on in your mind about, not being worthy, not being talented enough or exceptional enough, or whatever it is that you are coming down on yourself in this mantra that you might have going on in your head in that moment, then no matter what your exterior is saying, you are sabotaging yourself from success in that moment. Whatever that success is looking to be, whether that is in a relationship, whether it's a business success, whether it's personal success, trying to earn money, whatever it is, you are going to sabotage yourself if that is really how you feel. If you really feel that you aren't good enough, that you don't deserve this, that the sky is going to collapse around you because you're trying to do this thing that is you're really out of league here with, if that is how you feel, how could you possibly put in the effort that you're going to need in order to make this a lasting, loving relationship, or be successful in that business, or attract all the clients to you or the business to you to earn the money that you are wanting to earn, right? Those two things don't go together. You can't have both. You can't have the success of this over here whilst you're putting yourself down for not deserving that. You've got to be able to get that negative mantra switched around to something that is positive. Now, again, I'm not talking about being perfect. Of course, I have my moments too. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a motivational speaker and a success coach. That doesn't mean that I get it perfect, though. It means that I am all right with myself, flaws and all. I love myself, every single one of my flaws, as well as all of my goodness. And I recognize my flaws, and I do what I need to do to correct them. Not that I'm going to be perfect every single time, but it's the awareness, The other part of this is for awareness is awareness of others as well, right? Being aware of what they need. Do they need somebody that is going to be very calm in that moment, very grounding? Do they need somebody that's going to be very assertive, very open and brash? What is it that they need in that particular moment? And can you fill that for them? If this is a business, a client situation, this could be the difference between being very successful at what you do and not. If this is a relationship, again, the difference between having a very successful, supporting, loving relationship where you're able to give that person what they need in that moment because you are aware enough of their emotional needs and your ability to deliver it, that you can deliver it. Right? While at the same time, obviously recognizing your own worth and your own value. So if what somebody else needs is going to put you in jeopardy, well, then that's not worth it. But having the respect for yourself, really truly understanding and being aware of yourself is going to allow you to react and adapt to whatever situation. Now, having some intelligence is important, obviously, in business. Having talent is really very key. I'm not sitting here saying that mindset is the only thing. Having emotional intelligence is going to make you way up here where somebody else that just has a high IQ is only going to make it to here. You obviously need to have talent. Whatever it is that we're talking about, you have to have something that you are providing for others, right? Whether that's, again, relationship or business. But once you've discovered that you have that talent alone is never going to get you success. You have to have the right mindset. And that right mindset is built upon emotional intelligence, right? Having emotional intelligence to me means, again, not perfection, but having the wherewithal to be able to break down how you have behaved, how you have reacted and acted internally as well as externally, and make the necessary corrections. Take your biggest weakness and turn it into your strength. We all have weaknesses. That is normal. This whole idea of perfectionism is completely null and void, right? Perfection in its own right, it is perfect to be imperfect, right? We are not perfect beings, and that is perfectly acceptable. See what I did there? So anyways, we need to find your weaknesses that we all have and turn them into your strengths. Okay? And that doesn't necessarily always mean taking something and completely chucking it away, but working with that and recognizing that actually the fact that I'm able to even see that this is an issue is a really great strength. Not everybody has that ability to do that. And certainly not everybody has the emotional intelligence to be able to turn around and apologize, to acknowledge and apologize, whether that's to yourself, just as important, or is to somebody else, right? And then the big key is, it doesn't matter how many times you acknowledge it, how many times you apologize for it, you must make a change. And that change is possible. Now, I am a survivor of 10 years of child abuse. And so, like many people, everything that drives what I do and the person that I am and all of my actions and reactions come from my childhood, right? I mean, that is kind of bog standard. And because my childhood was involved with so much emotional, psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, you can imagine that those emotions and reactions and actions that I take are not always fantastic. And a lot of people can find themselves in the same type of boat, right? Whether they were abused or whether they just have low self-esteem or whatever it is. And so sometimes talking about changing your mindset is not cut and dry. It's not that easy, right? There's much deeper underlying issues that we are going through. And so one of the things that I would like to talk to you about, I've included a link for a free webinar that I am hosting on a regular basis that is called 3 Steps to Finding purpose after abuse. And it is actually the same coaching program that I bring my private clients through, but on a smaller scale, obviously. And so I'm offering that to you for free. That is a link that is right in our description here. So you are welcome at any time to go and watch that. It's a 30-minute webinar, which means it is an actual video for you to watch. So I would recommend that you've got 30 minutes of spare time to actually dig in and be able to get the most from it. But the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about for how to deal with some of these emotions that come up, some of these issues that, I'm talking about letting yourself take a break and give yourself a break from, is using essential oils. So every time I do a video, you can see that I've got a diffuser in the back, and that's because essential oils for me is a really, really key way of balancing my health, both emotionally and physically. And so whenever I step foot into this office, the first thing that I do is turn on my diffuser. And you can see I've got a bunch of oils there, and I've got a bunch of oils actually all over that you can't see. But there is a kit that I am a member of a oil company called doTERRA that I believe in very passionately. And they've got an amazing emotional balance kit. And it has 6 oils that are in it. And I find that I use these oils regularly because sometimes when I'm in a funk, sometimes if I wake up and I still have nightmares about the abuse that I went through. And so that's normal. That's a completely normal thing to have. But like anybody, sometimes when you wake up from a dream, it feels really real. And sometimes I can have flashbacks. Sometimes I can be in a conversation with my stepkids, and they can just say something that reminds me of how free they are, how they don't have to suffer or do any of the coping strategies that I had to do when I was growing up. And it brings it all back, right? There's that acknowledgement, that pure joy that I can feel that they don't have to go through that, brings it back for me and reminds me that I did. And so I've got a whole mantra, and I've got all kinds of things in my toolkit that I use when this happens. But one of those amazing things is essential oils. So I've got one here called Forgive, and I realize that this is a little bit blurry, so my apologies for that. So this is Forgive, which is an excellent blend to use in those moments when I get a little bit out of control emotionally, when something comes up and my instinct is to yell back, I'm very hurt, or I wake up from one of these nightmare type of situations. I've also got, along that same line, there is one called Console. And so this is obviously if I am, well, maybe not obviously, I keep using that word, I realize, but Console is a great one that I use when I am really feeling down, when I'm feeling sad. It's my way of allowing myself to feel those emotions. It's my way of saying, Lisa, it's all right. You don't have to be perfect. And the fact that you are experiencing this and acknowledging that you are experiencing this and then allowing yourself to experience this shows your emotional intelligence. It shows the amount of growth that you have had. You're not hiding from those feelings. You're allowing yourself to have them, but you are managing them, right? Which is a big difference than letting them get out of control. The one that I've got going right now is my all-time favorite one at this moment. It's called Motivate. This is a great one. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. But this is a great one, obviously, for when you know that you've got a lot that you've got to do and you're just not feeling like you are equipped to do it. And at the same time, going really well with the Console when I'm feeling really down and having those days. Cheer is a really fabulous one. And when I'm not that I'm just not motivated, but I'm motivated to get work done oftentimes, but I'm feeling a little bit of a lack of passion towards my work sometimes. And so there's a great oil called Passion. And then last but not least is a beautiful oil called Peace, which again is self-explanatory, but peace is a really loving one, exactly to bring yourself back down to reality and allow yourself to feel at harmony. Right. So all of these oils are just some of the things that I use to be able to, again, acknowledge the fact that I have the feelings that I have, that the emotions that I am feeling are real and they're true and they're okay. Right? It's not about me shoving them down deep. I did that for many years, like more than a decade, in trying to cope with my abuse. And that is not the way to do it. Acknowledging that I've got these emotions, but helping to make sure that I am managing them. That is key. Not controlling them, managing them. Okay? So to me, there's a very big difference there. Control to me means I'm stuffing them down, which means that they are bottling up and they're going to come out somehow, probably in some sort of physical health issue. Okay? I'm not a fan of that. Management means just what I've been saying, that you actually acknowledge that you've got them and you allow yourself to feel them, knowing that you're going through a process of, memory perhaps, and then using something like an essential oil to be able to allow you to keep that managed while you are going through whatever it is that you are going through. And so that you can then have those moments of clarity where you can reflect back and say, I understand why I was feeling that way. I understand that this was a trigger for me. And it's not about removing those triggers because that's something out of your control, but in saying, all right, this is how I would like to deal with that in the future. The video that I was talking about, 3 steps to finding personal purpose after abuse, that goes through in much more depth on how to heal from your trauma, how to change your mindset, and overall transform your life. So those 3 major steps, along with things like essential oils, are the way that I create and nurture emotional intelligence on a daily basis in my life. I hope that you found that helpful. I hope as you are watching this video later that you feel like you can message me for any questions that you might have. Go ahead, if you're not a member of one of my groups already, I would love to have you. The Life You Deserve and Oils Like You Mean It. And again, I am Lisa Sabaniak from lifelikeyoumeanit.com. It was a pleasure, and I hope that that helped. Enjoy the rest of your day being emotionally intelligent.